Hello, everybody. I had to do this as like a part two since we've gotten more information, which I really don't necessarily trust what the media says, but I'll use it against them. I just finished up my 30-minute break here and still headed down to Florida. I got to deliver this tomorrow afternoon in Plant City. It's between Tampa and Orlando on Interstate 4 near Disney World. Hope I don't have to worry about traffic down there because a lot of people have not been going on vacations, and a lot of tourism has really took it in the ass because nobody's coming to the United States for vacations this year. It was pretty bad. But let's not get into that. Let's go with the topic here. Everybody's making this a major outcry about people cheering or whatever. I haven't seen it. Not saying that it has not happened. People cheering and happy that this gentleman in the title was assassinated. Okay, you make your own bed, you lie in it, in my opinion. I didn't personally know the guy, and he didn't know me. And they're being upset about that, but I'm like, okay, this guy was a very popular mouthpiece for the right wingers. Okay, that's fine. Where was the outcry a few weeks ago of the Minnesota congressman and his family were assassinated by a MAGA supporter? Where was the outcry then? Nobody said boo. This congressman was serving his people and not necessarily himself. Now, this guy that got assassinated got all the attention. He really didn't do that to serve the people. He did that to provoke people so he could make a crap load of money. That much I do know. Okay, let's go with what I would have done. Hang on one second. Yeah, I gotta get turned around here. Shit. Um, let's go with the investigation now. 2 days after this, I was paying attention, getting pieces here and there from the media about it, and I said, let's do this like the investigation that we did for JFK when the movie JFK came out. I was 20 years old when that movie came out. Had a bunch of college friends, and we said, let's stop playing Dungeons and Dragons and let's do our own thing here. And in retrospect, let's look at things that other people haven't looked at, and maybe we might find something. Or it's always good to get more eyes on something to get a different perspective. It doesn't it doesn't prove any facts without tangible evidence, but it does raise lots of questions. And that is how you get to the truth. My thing is this: they mentioned that the father turned this kid in because he admitted it and he wanted to commit suicide, whatever. Okay, now I don't care what anybody does, that's fine. If somebody admits to something, you take them into custody and you question them. But that doesn't stop the investigation, okay? Even though you got an omission, people admit doing things all the time, but they didn't have nothing to do with it. You need concrete, tangible evidence to prove that, okay, he admitted to it, and yes, we have the evidence to prove that he did it, because you need that in a court of law. The courts don't play games with language. It is very strict on language. And if you're arguing a case and you bring something irrelevant to the case, the judge will tell you that is irrelevant. I don't want to hear any more about that. And if you keep going, the judge can hold you in contempt, and the judge has a bad view on you. One thing you do not want to do is anger a judge. Now, if you're in a debate, he may come off like he's angry, but that's not anger. If you come with a good, meritable argument with evidence, then the judge, can see what you're seeing. In many of argument, like I have done, but what I've done was something totally different. It had nothing to do with a murder case. But in the news, before they found this kid, or this kid turned himself in with his father, they said that they found a palm print and a shoe print. Okay, fine. If that is tied to the gunman, they probably found it on the roof. Okay. But since they found this kid, there's been no mention of that print. Did it match his hand? Did the shoes that he have match the shoe print that they had found? No mention of that. Well, that's really important when you're investigating a case, regardless if you have somebody come forward like this. You don't stop the investigation. And I know what rooftop he was on because they got this security video of the building that he dropped down in the grass, and it looked like he had probably a rifle wrapped in a black cloth. Okay, fine. That placed him in a different area than what rooftop I thought he was shooting from. So I went to Google Maps and I measured it again. That wherever you put him on that roof, it's going to be 400 feet or more away from this. And in order to get a shot like that, that is world-class shooting there. That I would be like, I need proof that this kid had world-class precision. He took a shot that maybe only a handful of people on the world that are alive that could accomplish that feat. You're talking maybe 20 or 30 riflemen in the world that could probably have accomplished that shot at 400 plus feet. But let's go back to the investigation here. They need to do a paraffin test. Did they do a paraffin test on his hands and his face? Because I don't care what you do, if you fire a firearm, especially a rifle, it's going to end up on your face. It's odorless, tasteless, and invisible to the naked eye. It's a residue that gets on your skin, and you just can't take a shower or wash your face or wash your hands to get rid of it. It doesn't work that way. It stays on your skin. The only way that I know through investigation of the JFK assassination, the only way to get rid of that residue is hot candle wax. You put it on your hands, you put it on your cheek, you let it cool off, and then you wash it off. That's the only way to get rid of that residue. How I know? He's dead now, but he was the man that admitted that took the shot from the grassy knoll that hit Kennedy in the head. And when you listen to this man, he is not lying. He used a concept weapon, which is a little bit shorter than an assault rifle, but it was a pistol. It was like a pistol rifle. It was called a fireball, and he only got one shot, but that's all this guy needed because he was a professional assassin. He admitted to it, but he's dead now. He's done many an interview. I can't remember his name, but I'm sure you can find the videos here on YouTube. But there's no mention of that. If I was in a part of the media and they're doing a press conference with the law enforcement, I'm like, did the palm print and the shoe print match the suspect? Did you do a paraffin test on his hands and the side of his face that proved that he had fired a weapon? And the weapon did you find, did it match the weapon that was used and the round that was fired? See, you got to look at everything. You can't just, okay, just the gunman turned himself in. We believe him because he's admitting to it. Let's stop all investigation. It doesn't work that way. But here's the most majority of the media here. When this first happened, they were blaming the left. You can call them the left, but they're not left. But they're blaming people who support the Democrat Party right away. Come to find out, this kid was right wing. And they were blaming the trans community, ever since, the past couple of high profile mass shootings were done by someone that was in the trans community. Okay, fine. They were transsexual. What does sexuality have to do with somebody murdering a lot of people or assassinating somebody? That's irrelevant. The majority of the mass shootings here in the United States are done by seething loners who can't get laid, or white dudes that are MAGA right-wing supporters, or white supremacists, or all three. That's been proven. But they want to lay what the media has done in the past few days is try their damnedest to find either a gay or trans connection to this kid. Well, I think they found one. They said, "Oh, he had a relationship with this person in the trans community." Okay, fine. You're finding out his background, but in a court case, when they bring this to court, that is fucking irrelevant to him shooting that individual. Him being trans is irrelevant. Sexuality is irrelevant, and the judge will not want to hear it. What that does in the media, it drums up popular support against the trans community to make it look bad. Well, if he even he was the shooter, and he did have a relationship with a tranny, the tranny didn't do the shooting. And I know straight men that mess with trannies. It does not necessarily make them gay. I got friends that are trannies. I'm not in on what they do, and I'm not gay. But let's go with this trans thing. This guy fell off the face of the earth right around, I think it was 2017 or 18, 2017 or 2018. This guy fell off the face of the earth. And he was more popular long before Charlie Kirk was popular. At this time, Charlie Kirk was a nobody on YT with a card table and a piece of poster board that says, "Prove me wrong." And he would sit wherever they're having a protest or they're having a gathering of some sort on college campuses or wherever. And he'd set up that card table and be sitting behind it with a cooler and having drinks, wanting somebody to come up and debate him. See, Charlie Kirk was a nobody back then. He was only on YT, hardly known. But this guy I'm going to mention was a lot bigger than he was and doing what Charlie Kirk has done. He used to go to college campuses, stir the shit pot, he would draw a big crowd too, especially Berkeley. But nobody ever talks about this guy. His name is Milo Yiannopoulos or something like that. I might get the pronouncing wrong. But he was gay and trans himself. There was times that he did his speeches dressed in drag. And where the term Daddy Trump came from, you can thank Milo for that back in 2016 when he initially became president, where Milo was very popular then. That's where the term Daddy Trump comes from. Milo Yiannopoulos. He was an editor for Breitbart, but no more. A few years ago, I guess he had a come to Jesus moment and found Jesus, and he's no longer gay. But he was deplatformed off YT because of hate speech. But I don't know. And I'm like, well, what Milo Yiannopoulos was doing was no different than what Charlie Kirk was doing. And he's all over YT. Has been. The only difference is Milo is gay trans. Charlie's not, as far as we know. But our media saw fit to try as hard as they could and dig as deep as they could to find a trans connection to this kid that admitted that he assassinated Charlie Kirk. Bravo. If it's true, bravo to them. It's totally irrelevant to this case. And you can't lay the blame on the trans community for this person's death. No, you blame a right-wing Mormon that was a MAGA supporter that did it, that had a disagreement, but also due to investigation. I don't believe that this 22-year-old could have pulled off this world-class shot from over 400 feet away. Yes, he's in an elevated position shooting down a hill. There's a lot of factors involved here. And they got pictures of this kid wearing a baseball hat and sunglasses, wearing a black long sleeve shirt with an American flag on the front of it with an eagle, and wearing blue jeans. Okay, that's fine. We look at the guy running off the roof and jumping down. The guy, from a distance, you can't make out anything detailed, but what you can tell is this person is wearing a black hoodie. And maybe he's the same size as the kid in the photo, but you can't really tell who the hell that was coming off the roof. There's no way. And he didn't have a backpack either. I forgot about that. The pictures they showed of that kid that they got that claims that he did it, in the pictures he's wearing a black backpack and a long black t-shirt that had long sleeves on it down to his wrists. Okay, the shooter coming off the roof, where's his backpack? He wasn't wearing one. And the kid in the photos wasn't wearing a black hoodie. So this story isn't jiving. But there are people, political, non-political, right-wing crazy people, that are trying their damnedest to get the gunfights to start between Republican and Democrats, blue and red. They want to get us fighting. They got us divided. And if you divide a population, you got them conquered. And everybody wants civil war. I'm like, okay, you go in your house, you grab your gun, you come outside. Who are you going to know who to shoot? It's not like these people wear that gray uniform and we wear the blue uniform. It doesn't work that way. These people are idiots and don't think. If people want real change, civil war ain't going to do it. A lot of people are going to die and nothing's going to change necessarily. What will make a change for the difference for the mass of American people is revolution. Now we're going in the right direction. Because decisions are made where the mass of American people have to live with, which we have no decision. And we had no vote, and we had no say in what's going on right now. Like the tariffs, those were done by one man. Regardless of how anybody else felt about these tariffs or understood them, the ones that understood them was like, no, this is going to negatively affect the mass of American people. And it has. Even his supporters are not. That's why I'm telling people here in America, the mass of people in our economic system are required to live with the consequences of the decisions made by the corporate leaderships and the president, decisions from which you and I are excluded. Whatever else you call this system, it is not democratic. And America makes a fetish that we're a democracy. And then you got those people that say, no, we're a constitution republic. Okay, Google that, and it'll tell you it's a democracy. They don't want to use the word democracy because it matches the Democrat Party. They want to use republic because it matches the Republican Party. This is childish shit. Just like it's childish shit to utilize time to find a trans or gay connection to this kid that supposedly is the gunman of Charlie Kirk. Where does being gay, trans, or whatever become relevant in something of this magnitude? Where's the relevancy? Him being blown by a guy that looks like a female, is that going to make any difference of him going out and shooting and killing a high-profile person or not? Is that what the catalyst that made this decision? No, it's stupid. I just do not understand why people would want to think that, like that was important, so they can lay the blame on what they call the left, and they can lay the blame on trans people. Well, for every trans person they can mention, I can at least mention 100 per one trans they can mention in the mass shooting or killings in the United States. And this all started way back with Timothy McVeigh, a right-wing nut job that did the Oklahoma City bombing. And a lot of women, innocent women and children were killed in that. Dylan Roof. I think that was like, what, 5, 6, maybe 8 to 10 years ago. Dylan Roof in North Charleston, South Carolina, went into a church full of black people. Here he is, a young white kid, went in there with a pistol and just started blasting people. He killed 9 people. He got out of there and then ran to Shelby, North Carolina, and they picked him up at the Burger King there in Shelby, North Carolina. And I've been by there a couple of times. I did a live stream going by there. All these mass shootings, the big one, the Columbine one, that kind of like kicked this whole thing off about mass school shootings. Were they gay? Were they trans? No. Darren Klebold and I can't remember the name of the other kid. No, they were right-wing nuts, young kids that were right-wing that did that mass school shooting. But they want you to ignore that and focus on the trans community. They got a problem with trans. For the right wing, for being so anti-gay, they really pull a lot of shit out of their ass. Just think about that for a minute. And me? I didn't celebrate Charlie Kirk's death or not. It didn't faze me. I didn't know him. I didn't care about his views, more or less as that he cared about mine, even though I kicked his ass on a live stream almost 2 years ago and informed him that his views are wrong. And I said, I hate doing this, but Google it and you'll find out. Because I don't trust Google either. A lot of people do not go to libraries and read books pre-internet. Because you go to the internet, you go to Google, that's how people get all their answers and information and think that's 100% accurate. Not always. Not always. But for them people to constantly make videos about all these famous people saying, oh, I just can't stand how people cheered this man's death, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I didn't. But I'm going to get in your face a bit. Where were you when that congressman in Minnesota and his family were murdered, gunned down by a MAGA supporter? Where was the outcry then? Nobody said boo. But now, this high profile kid, 31 years of age, right in front of his family, they wanted to make sure you knew that, his two children. Well, this congressman was murdered in front of his family before they were murdered. But nobody said boo about that. The hypocrisy in the United States is sickening and embarrassing me. A lot of people that bitch about other countries, they probably don't even have never left the United States. I do. And I'm like, speak for yourself. You're embarrassing the shit out of me. But me, I'm equal. If you want sympathy for the one, you got to have sympathy for the other. But when that happened, that was tragic. It didn't affect me either. I didn't know the congressman or his family. It's sad that that happened. But for our president and government not to just say or do anything, the only thing that they do is our thoughts and prayers are with the family. Thoughts and prayers don't do shit. In modern times, we abbreviate the thoughts and prayers to TP. Like toilet paper, you can wipe your ass with it. Because believe you me, if they're not related, deep down in reality, people did not care because it didn't directly affect them or their family. Them or their family. But they're, for the next 3 years, if it doesn't pop off soon, they're going to. Our government is going to keep poking the bear to get the massive civilians to want to fight, and they're going to call them terrorists, so he can use the military to murder a bunch of Americans. That's what this is all about. Didn't really work in Chicago, so now he's going down to Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee, not as big as Chicago, but you still have the same type of folks that are going to say, we need to get together and they come up on our property, because in Chicago, I'll guarantee you, the best movie I can give you as an example of what could happen in Chicago if it were to pop off, watch the movie Bushwick. The lead actor and director of that movie is the famous WWE wrestler Batista. He's in it and he directs it. That was an excellent movie. And it made a good point, even though Bushwick is in Brooklyn. And that's where it took place. But what happened there is so damn near identical what they want to pop off in Chicago. But I just hope that the massive American people can look around and say, look, we're very similarly situated. All pull bullshit to the side. Economically and financially, we're all similarly situated. If you're not a part of the 1%, you're with the rest of us. We're not your enemy. And they're not your enemy. The enemy is the billionaire class, which is 87 individuals that make up the billionaire class in the United States. 87 out of 340 million. Now I say this, which of you has a moral, ethical, or religious values to such a system? They love to out Jesus people and say how Christian they are. Like, oh really? Would Jesus support your economic system that puts a vast amount of wealth into so few hands where the majority are in poverty or abject poverty or worse? I don't think so. Did Jesus come down here to judge people? No, he didn't do that. Did Jesus come down here to tear people down because of their lifestyle or what they do with themselves? No, he didn't do that either. He came down here to lift people up, not tear them down, nor to judge them. And I challenge anybody, you find me in a creditable Bible where Jesus did any of those things and where. Because I looked, and not just the King James version, because I don't trust that version. Use a Geneva Bible that's much older, predates King James. But nobody ever asked, who's King James? Well, if you find out who King James was, you really wouldn't trust that Bible you've been reading your whole life or holding in your hand when you yell at gay people. King James wrote it for changed things in the Bible for his purposes to make it to where royalty is divine, and claims that it was God's word. Yeah, right. My foot. I highly doubt it. But in all honesty, when the cameras are off, I assume that I could probably sit down next to Charlie Kirk and have a drink with him. Probably have some of the same heroes, like some of the same shows, have this maybe some of the same hobbies. I don't know, but some of his views that he was so hooked on were totally irrelevant to the mass of American people. People, you're talking the trans community and gay community is less than 1% of the population of this country. Okay, who cares? They're a tiny minority, and what they do is on them. They have every right to do whatever they want to do within the confines of the law. Other than that, I can care less. But that's done on purpose. Our government wants you to think of these irrelevant, stupid things in the culture war, so you don't look at the real issue that is causing our country to collapse economically. And that's in and of itself. Nobody ever questions our economic system, and that's what caused all this, and is the core issue. I got my friends in foreign countries. They call me up and they talk to me, and they said, "We really pity you, Sean, that you have to live in a country amongst people like this." And then they say, "Well, why don't you move to another country?" I said, "This is my country as much as it is yours. My ancestry's from here, and Ireland and Germany, but half my lineage is from right here." Because when the other side had all the political power, they were doing all the complaining too. But did they ask themselves that same question? Why don't they move to another country? No, and they didn't self-deport either. They expect when the right wing's in power to follow along like sheep. And this woke thing, I'm still trying to really figure this one out. This new language they come up with. Well, they called me woke, and I really didn't understand what they meant by that. But I'm going to go with the English language. What's the opposite of woke? Asleep. So that must mean that I'm woke, and the ones that called me that, I must be asleep counting sheep, just like sheep. Follow along, don't question anything, and accept it. We're going to shove this dildo up your rear with no KY, and you're going to turn and look at us and say you love us. That's what they expect. Well, I'm sorry. There are some people that are not into that sort of thing. Our current president is the type, back when we were children, to walk up to you in kindergarten and pinch the shit out of your arm to where it hurt really bad, And when he pinched you in the arm laughing and he asked you, did that hurt? That's what you call sadism. And he takes joy in other people's pain as long as he's not feeling it. Now, the people that are into masculinism are the ones that take all the pain and the degradation. At the same time, they look at the person that's doing it to them and say, I love you. It's really sick shit. Now, to each his own. I'm not into that sort of thing. But I'm amazed at how many Americans that show signs that they're into that sort of thing. And in short, it's called BDSM. It covers both sides there. And I'm not into that. It should explain why they came out with 3 books of the 50 Shades of Grey and the theaters were packed. And I'm like, dear Lord. No wonder why we're in the situation we're in. But anyway, I just come along here to pass the word on. Hopefully, some people will watch the replay and get a little bit more of an understanding and ask questions. And that should not let it go. No, did they do a paraffin test on his hands and face that proved that he fired a weapon? And did his palm match the palm print that they lifted? And the shoe print, did it match the shoes that he wears? Now, it could match the same type of shoe, but was it the same size shoe? You guys have a good day and keep asking questions. And don't just blindly accept anything somebody tells you, whether it be the media or the government, because 9 times out of 10, it's bullshit. You have a good day.